Okay, everyone, welcome to this episode of Heavily Biased Guitar Reviews. Joel and I, this is Alex speaking, will be interviewing Alan Liu about his concert next Saturday for the Guitar Society featuring himself and his brother Braden. Would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors for the Guitar Society, Lockheed Engineering, and a new sponsor we just brought on, Transsoft Solutions. If you would like to learn more about becoming a sponsor of the Guitar Society, please go to www.vancouverguitar.org, and there's a link at the top called Get Involved, and you can find a lot more info about all sorts of things there. And then also try following us on social media, on the Instagram and the Facebook in particular, if you aren't doing that already. So welcome, Alan. How are you doing today?
Hey, Alec, great to be here. I'm doing well. Um, I'm very excited for the concert, and I know Brain is very excited for the concert also. I'm sorry he can't be here. He's still at school, so he doesn't get off for another hour or so. But great to be here. Great to see you both. Um,
Yeah. So for people who are just sort of aren't as in deep in the guitar scene here locally as Joel and I and some of the other volunteers, uh, a little bit of background info is that Alan actually grew up in Vancouver and has been a part of the Guitar Society for many years. Um, and so that's something that makes this upcoming concert extra special for myself. Do you kind of remember how old you are when you first started doing things with the Guitar Society?
I think I was around 8 or 9, around 9 when I first
Wow.
began, playing little in open mics in VCGS. So that must have been 10, maybe 11 years ago.
Awesome. I hope all the parents of my 9-year-old students are making notes right now. Yeah. And to put into perspective, you just celebrated a birthday I saw, right? Just a few days ago.
Right.
So how old are you now, man?
I am 20, so this will be my first concert after turning 20.
All right.
No longer even a teenager. I don't know, Alan.
Yeah.
I'm starting to think you might just be getting over that hill now. You know, Ah, getting a little old there, bud.
Yeah. Well, you just got old enough to drink in Canada to go out for a beer after the concerts, and then you moved to
That's
the
right.
States to study. But I guess you've still been in Vancouver most like a lot of this time because of COVID, right?
Right. So after sort of COVID hit North America, school was moved online, and then I came back to Vancouver. So I've been here for, over in a year and a half. They actually gave us an option to return to school in September, but I chose to stay because it just made more sense. The one of the buildings were under renovation and some things were still being worked out. So I chose to stay for a full semester.
Great. But I know from our previous conversations that you plan to go back in January, correct?
Right. Once, uh, after the New Year's and after Christmas, I'll be here for another few days and then I'll head back to Philly.
Yeah, and that's to go to the Curtis Institute of Music for people who don't know where back is from. I realize I should probably give like a little bit more background information when I'm talking to someone I know personally.
We'll get around to it. We can let the audience piece together the puzzle. You know, they're smart, right? I mean, they listen to classical music, so they're obviously making good choices.
That's a good point, Joel. Joel always brings in the good perspective.
So
So,
I'm sorry. Yeah,
no, you
yeah,
go ahead, Joel. I've been
yeah,
talking
yeah, yeah.
lots.
That's all right. Yeah, I'm a little curious. Because you're in your third year now, technically, or
Fourth year.
fourth year. Okay, so you had a few years there. You had your difficult the first 2 years of all the theory and everything like that already sort of under your belt before all this tragedy began to unfold. So like, I don't know much about the Curtis Institute. Like as a guitarist, I know a bunch of people from like other universities, right? Like people from the States in like Texas or whatever, or like here in McGill and U of T. But like Curtis is sort of like not a place that I hear much from. So I don't know if you have any sort of like perspective on like Is it really like a lot different there, do you think, or what?
Well, Curtis is a very small school. I think they try not to exceed 180 students any given year. So usually that's around 20 to 50 new students in the entire, like new students per year for the entire school.
Right.
That's piano, that's orchestral instruments, that's voice, that's guitar, art, percussion, all of that, 20 to 50 new students per year. And the guitar department, led by David Starobin and Jason Vio, has only been around for 10 years. And we've only had, I think it was 11 students in total. I think I'm around 8th or 9th, thereabouts. So it's a very small school, very, very small department. There are only 3 guitar students enrolled right now. So yeah, very, very small department.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. So in a way, you're kind of a path setter at that school.
Right. Yeah. Cool thing about Curtis is that it's tuition free. So once you get in, you don't have to worry about paying for the school.
Of course, it's just a miracle to get in the first place. So, yeah, there's 3 of you. Okay, cool. That's got to be a very, very close knit group then, or maybe you guys spend all your time in the practice room, and so you don't actually know each other at all.
We get to know each other pretty well. I mean, we all sort of live close by. I mean, because we only have 170 students a year. Most of the students actually live in one building. So there is the old building, which is currently under renovation, and then the new building is where classes and rehearsals and like lessons take place. It's also where the dormitory and cafeteria are located. So everything, especially for this year, has been happening in one building. So 90 students all live together. They take classes, lessons, and they rehearse and perform together. So usually we'd get to know each other pretty well.
Fair enough.
Cool. Do you guys, so at a school that's small, I imagine do you still do like, I don't know anything about Curtis. Do you guys still have like orchestral programs and that sort of thing?
Yeah. There is the student orchestra, which I believe is mandatory. Yeah, that normally they perform like year round. They'd have repertoire every year, and then they go off to performances in the Philly area, and I think they go on tour as well. So there's that. I was actually in the Curtis Opera Theater, just playing a part in the Barber of Seville, so I got to experience
Nice.
that rehearsal and performance setting.
I did that with the VSO, not the VSO, the Vancouver Opera.
UBC or
No, the Vancouver Opera, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
It's actually a different experience to play when you have to watch a conductor and also pay attention to the singers.
Yeah, it's hard for a guitarist, right? Like we don't.
Right.
I mean, I had a bit of a background in like high school band, but it's not even like the same conducting style or anything because it's like concert band, right?
Right.
It's it felt very different.
Yeah, because I played with recently with the UBC student orchestra, this like Kurt Weill little thing. So it was like with a wind band basically, and it took me a while to sort of like be able to like key into just like the rhythm of that, but that wasn't even with singers. So I don't know. It was a little different. So that's good though. So you managed to get your you probably had like a large ensemble credit you had to get or something, eh? And you were able to just fill it, just kind of strumming away in the Barber of Seville.
Barber of Seville, and also we have a guitar quartet, or it was a guitar quartet, and it will be a trio this year. But that, because of COVID, was it was sort of postponed for the second and third year. And then on top of that, when I was back at school, I would play chamber music together with other students, violinists, singers,
Of course.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So we have a little bit of a shorter time to talk today, so I really wanted to touch on the fact that you just finished participating in the GFA and you placed fourth, and that was sort of one of the reasons why we wanted to do this concert, because it's so great seeing how well prepared you had all of this music. But at the same time, people watching should know that your program that you're going to do on Saturday is a little bit different than your GFA set. So if people in the city watched your live stream of that, which I think is still up, right? They can still go and watch that.
Yes.
Don't expect that it's all going to be the same. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you're going to be playing next weekend.
Okay, yeah. So I'll be swapping out some of the pieces, and then I'll be adding a Bach suite and the Brouwer Sonata number 1, just to mix it up, because I know some people have attended my concerts here in Vancouver before, and just wanted to bring something new. Brain's also playing some new pieces. He's bringing in Chopin and Mendelssohn. He'll be keeping the Beethoven Sonata, but some new repertoire from both of us.
That's very exciting. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think it'll be cool for the people in the Guitar Society to see like a piano and guitar back to back too. Like I don't know how much of the guitar audience like typically goes out and watches some piano recitals, so that'll be fun to see how they react to that. They're just like sonically so different. It's interesting they share like some qualities too, though, right? Like the way the notes decay, and in a way they're both really like almost like percussive instruments, right? Like pretending to be melodic instruments, but
I do think of them as like quite similar, actually, right? You just have one that's like a lot bigger than the other one. Play like 10 notes at a time as opposed to only 6.
Well, there's also though this like difference in the flexibility between like the piano and the guitar. Both are like such idiomatic instruments, but it's funny, like you just throw down like 6 open strings on, like it's the same for like string, like bowed instruments too, right? And suddenly those open strings just like shape everything you do.
Yeah. And I think Brain and I are quite different, like in the way that we express, the way we play. So, I'm looking forward to see how it sort of blends. Like Brain's playing the first half, I'm playing the second half. I wonder how that's going to affect the experience for the audience.
How did it come about that you ended up on guitar and Braden ended up on piano, if you don't mind me asking?
Funny enough, I actually studied piano for a number of years, and it was because when we got a piano teacher, it was originally for Braden. I wasn't supposed to learn piano, but I think Braden, being very young, he was a little hesitant about studying piano, and sort of chickened out last minute during the first lesson, and then so I had to fill in, and then I think I did a few sessions before Braden finally agreed to sit down and learn the piano with this piano teacher that we had. So that's why I learned piano. But how did I learn guitar? I think it was because my personality, when I was about 5 years old, was very kind of closed off. I wasn't interacting with people very well. And so my parents thought it would be a good idea for me to like pick an instrument that was, outgoing.
Right.
Interesting way to put that.
Classical guitar just comes to mind, right?
Actually, they wanted me to learn, I think it was like rock or something, but
right, of course.
It was like a couple of months before they realized that I was learning the classical guitar, not like rock or jazz or acoustic, whatever it was.
Probably tough to find a rock guitar teacher that's like any good. Honestly, too.
Well, maybe especially for like someone so young.
Right.
That's a 5-year-old. That's pretty young. I have I've taught guitar a long time, and I've had a lot of young students, and 5 is always a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did that work for you as a 5-year-old? Were your parents sitting in the lessons, or?
They were, and luckily I had my first two teachers were very good. You know, the ones that I had in China, they were very supportive, and they knew how to deal with sort of younger students. And I remember specifically my first teacher, I would bring in like, little drawings for him before every lesson. So I think we had a pretty good relationship.
Great. Did you keep in touch with any of your, like, or maybe now that you're an adult and you go back, have you had a chance to meet them again or see
Oh
them?
yeah, yeah. Sometimes I see them when I head back for guitar festivals, and I'd see them there. So it's always nice to reunite and catch up on things.
Awesome. And then I know, so you're in your last year of Curtis. What are your plans looking like after you finish?
Well, I will probably continue with grad school. I can't specify which ones at the moment because it's I haven't decided. And same goes for Brain. He's finishing high school and he's going to be applying to colleges. Got some nice offers with good scholarship, but again, he hasn't decided where he wants to go.
Right. And then you'll continue with doing the competitions and just performing and.
Yeah, I think mostly performing for now, but maybe competitions. When there's a suitable competition, I might enter them.
Do you have any like I guess artistic like things on the bucket list you really want, like maybe a certain piece you really want to perform, or a certain, you know what I mean, a certain set of recordings you want to make? I'm kind of always curious to hear.
There are some pieces that I want to learn, not necessarily for like just performance, but just to learn them, to study them.
Yeah, for yourself.
Right, because there is a large part of the repertoire that I'm not familiar with, and to be a well-rounded guitarist and musician, it's like I kind of want to learn them for myself. As far as recordings or performances, no, I just want to be able to do as much as possible, especially with performances. Play wherever I can.
Great. Did you have any other questions, Joel? I know we should probably start wrapping things up.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have a busy day ahead of me. I mean, you said something interesting just a second ago. You said you'd wait for a suitable competition to arise before you think you'd want to go back. And can you just sort of like elaborate on what you mean by that?
Yeah, well, sometimes like if it doesn't make sense to travel to a competition where maybe it's too far, or like the competition prize won't be able to cover some of those expenses, then I might not go, or I might not consider it as seriously as some of the other ones. And also just like in terms of repertoire, like are there required pieces that I have to perform in order to enter this competition? That's something that I also have to take into consideration, because sometimes they ask for pieces that I don't know, or maybe pieces that I haven't worked on for a while, so I might be more hesitant to enter those kind of competitions.
Right.
Sure.
You're not as likely to shine.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what my girlfriend always says, you should like pick things that like make you shine, that bring out the best of what you have to offer.
Right.
So you're not planning to become like a sort of like touring competition rat then, just sort of like always doing like the next competition. This is not what you're interested in, eh?
I don't think so. I think I'll
Yeah.
still be entering competitions, but maybe not as much as some of the other players around that have insane drive, and they're entering every competition. And I don't think I have studies to consider, and time is always a factor taken into consideration.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not convinced that like that just being a super competition driven artist always makes you the most interesting artist anyway. So I like that you have a little bit more of that sort of more open-minded approach.
It does,
Definitely, I agree.
those that do enter a lot of competitions, they do get more opportunities to to advertise themselves, right? Like when they win a prize, it's like it's good advertisement, and it's also good experience because competing on stage is quite different from just playing a concert, right? And I feel like that most of what I learned over like this year, for example, was making videos. And when I made videos for myself, it's like I learned a lot about my own playing, about my own sort of problems and shortcomings. And because it's on video, so you can see exactly what you're doing and what you thought was working, but really isn't once you've heard it. So it's good.
Right.
It's a good experience, good learning tool. And also
Cool.
It's a great way to kickstart your career.
Well, speaking of being on video, your concert this Saturday will also be live streamed. So anyone listening abroad, I know I saw some followers on the event from, I think, from Toronto. Heather said, "Hi, wish I could be there." So, you know, if you're listening, anyone in Toronto or Curtis or whatever, you can totally buy a live stream for the event. Is there a place where people can find more info about you, Alan?
If you're on Facebook, you can check out, my page or my profile. I sometimes update with my events on there.
Awesome. Do you have a YouTube channel by chance?
Not a public one.
Not a public one. Okay. Because I saw you posting videos on your Facebook, so I was wondering where those were coming from. But okay. All right. So everyone check out Alan and check out vancouverguitar.org for tickets for Saturday. And then maybe we could do this again after your concert sometime, and your brother can join us and we can just chill and reflect on how it went.
Yeah, for sure. Looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Okay.
And thanks for listening, everyone. Bye-bye.